There was a young man who carried within him a silent storm. His days were filled with confusing thoughts, painful memories of the past, and fears of a future that seemed uncertain. At night, sleep eluded him. His heart raced, his mind whirled restlessly. He felt trapped in a cycle of anxiety and doubt, as if each moment were too heavy to bear. Many around him saw him smile, but inside he was tired of fighting himself. He had tried to find peace in distractions, in conversations, even in travel, but nothing seemed to fill the void or calm the whirlwind of thoughts. It was then that he heard of an old carpenter who lived secluded in a small workshop, always serene, always at peace. They said this simple man held a secret capable of transforming a restless mind into clarity and a heavy heart into lightness. Driven by hope, the young man decided to seek it out. Perhaps in that silent workshop, hidden among planks and tools, lay the answer he had been searching for. But after all, what could an ordinary carpenter teach someone lost in their own shadows? When he finally reached the workshop, the young man was greeted by a simple setting, yet profoundly different from anything he had ever known. The smell of freshly cut wood filled the air, mingled with the soft sound of tools that seemed to work at an almost meditative pace. There was no rush, no unnecessary noise, just silence, focus, and a peace the young man had never experienced. The old carpenter sat at a bench, his hands steady but serene, shaping a piece of wood with calm, precise movements. His eyes, when they lifted, conveyed something words could not describe: confidence, discipline, and a tranquility that seemed to come from within, as if he had discovered the true secret of life. The young man approached and, unsure how to begin, confessed the restlessness that gripped him. He spoke of his agitated mind, the weight of the past, the fear of the future, and the constant feeling of being out of control. The carpenter listened in silence, without interrupting, simply observing as if he already knew the pain, but knew there was no need to give lengthy advice. After a while, the old man simply smiled and said, "I won't give you any ready-made answers or lectures. If you want to learn, you'll have to work with me. Only through simple present work will you discover what you seek." These words intrigued the young man. He expected to hear motivational phrases, perhaps an immediate lesson, but instead he received an unexpected proposal to learn through a silent task. His heart raced. What kind of lesson could be hidden in the act of working with wood? And it was at that moment, before that silent workshop, that the real journey began. The carpenter walked to a plank, leaning against the wall, and placed it before him, ready to reveal the first challenge. The carpenter handed the young man a piece of sandpaper and calmly placed the board on the workbench. "Your challenge is simple," he said. "Sand this wood, but only follow the natural direction of the grain. Take your time, don't break the rhythm. If your mind wanders, the mistake will be etched in your mind forever." The young man took a deep breath and began the task, not fully understanding the point. At first it seemed effortless, but as his mind filled with thoughts, his hand trembled and small scratches appeared on the surface. With each distraction, the wood betrayed his lack of focus. Then he realized it wasn't enough to move his hand. He had to align his heart and mind in that moment. Each breath guided the movement. Each fixed gaze on the wood's grain drew him away from memories of the past and fears of the future. The silence of the workshop became an ally. The repetitive sound of sandpaper against the board was almost like meditation. Little by little, the agitation within him subsided. There was no room for anxiety, no room for stress, only the present, only that simple, continuous gesture. When he looked up, he noticed the carpenter watching him silently, waiting for the next step. As the young man continued sanding the wood, he began to feel that the silence and focus brought a different calm, as if the storm within him was slowly dissipating. Each simple gesture carried a powerful lesson about discipline, peace, and presence. Like this video, and subscribe to the Secret of Life channel for more motivational stories in English that will inspire your mind and empower your journey. The carpenter, in silence, continued to observe him, waiting for the right moment to reveal the true meaning of that challenge. The old carpenter approached and ran his hand over the board, feeling every detail. With a serene gaze, he said, "Did you notice what happened? As your eyes followed the grain of the wood, your mind was caught in the present. There was no room for fear, no room for painful memories. There was only this moment." He then pointed out the spots where the young man had been distracted. Crooked, marks, visible scratches. "That's life," he continued. "When we rush, when we let anxiety take over, we create cuts that cannot be erased. But when we breathe deeply, when we pay attention to the present, we build something firm, clean, and true." The simple words, accompanied by the gesture on the wood, penetrated deep into the young man's heart. It was as if each lesson was engraved not only in the grain of the board, but also in his own mind. The silence was no longer empty, it was peace. In construction, the young man took a deep breath and looked at the board again. The surface, once rough and marked by his mistakes, was now smooth, soft, almost glowing in the light streaming in through the small workshop window. He realized he hadn't just worked the wood, he had worked himself. With each calm movement, the inner storm dissolved. With each conscious breath, his heart calmed. The carpenter, unhurried, observed the result. Then, with a slight smile, he said, "Wood only transforms. When you touch it with presence, the same happens with life." These words echoed in the young man's mind like a call. For the first time, he understood that peace was not distant, nor hidden in great secrets. It lay in the simplicity of an attentive gesture, in the care taken with each moment, in the silent discipline that transforms the present. Leaving the workshop, the world seemed the same, but he was no longer the same. He walked with slower steps, more attentive eyes, and a serenity that had previously seemed impossible. He carried with him an invisible tool, capable of shaping lighter days and a firmer future. And as this lesson concludes, another reflection awaits you. Click on the next video now and discover a new story that will challenge your assumptions and further awaken your mind.